Welcome to the show that looks behind the scenes of the videos we produce here at Eagle Vision. Join us as we dissect, discuss, and break down our process to find out just what it took. I started working for Eagle Vision like a year and a half and another quarter year ago. Sounds like an Abraham Lincoln speech. I've done a lot of work with them that I'm really proud of, but this one is probably the commercial I like the most. This one is for a company called Gemini Helicopters and their outdoor snowmobiling adventures they do at Powder King Resort, deep in the northern Rocky Mountains. This video is an example of a type of marketing that I really believe in. Doing story-based commercials that are funny or entertaining. They're more like a movie or like a Super Bowl commercial than they are like an advertisement or a corporate video. And I really believe in this type of advertising because it's really, it's easy to share and it's really fun to produce. So it really puts us in sort of best position to make something special. So let's watch that commercial now. And afterwards you'll see me and Ben and Ted talking about what it was like and what it took to make this commercial.
Frank, how was your weekend?
My weekend.
Pretty special spot. I wouldn't tell anybody about it.
Carl, you have no idea. The landscape was like nothing I'd ever seen. So remote. So pristine.
Wow.
Then I start the engine. And then I was like, bang! Flying through the woods like,
I'll call you back.
And as far as I could see, nothing but untouched snow. Was the trip of a lifetime.
But how'd you get all the way out there?
We're back with two Fort St. John national treasures here. Above me, we've got Ted Sloan, actor, educator, philanthropist.
I was gonna say, like, maybe one of those three, and I'm not sure which one I could take.
And below me, we got Ben Hab, owner of Eagle Vision, director, creative, guru, yoga master, all these things. So yeah, keep going. This video I'm really excited to talk about because this is my favorite thing that we have produced together, Ben and Ted. But at Eagle Vision, this seems to be, for me, this is like the pinnacle of what we want to be doing for companies. This is the kind of marketing we want to make for people because it gets a really good response and it allows us to sort of exercise all of our creative muscles at once and all of our like sort of narrative know-how and sort of do that Super Bowl commercial, but at I think what is it, 700th the cost or something, or 7,000th the cost. But it's great when you have a small, capable crew. It's incredible what you can accomplish if you do a little bit of planning ahead of time and you write yourself a script and you work with great actors who can sort of pull out the performance you want. So why don't we get into it here? This is our coworker Kent.
Was this Kent's like debut? Like he set the bar really high. I felt very nervous because he had the first line. I was like, oh man, I can't top this.
Yeah. He, I think this might have been his first time in front of camera for us.
Well, no, he was a part of a Fort St. John video fishing.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, that's right. He was part of
he
fishing.
like pointed at the lake. He's like, can't beat this or something like that.
Oh yeah.
He plays the part of, what was his name in this? Your name is his name is Carl.
Yeah.
Your name is Frank.
Which I had numerous students call me Frank afterwards, and I couldn't figure out why. And I was like, "Oh,
Frank.
right, it's because this ad."
Your kids come up to you, they're like, "Frank, how's your weekend?" You're like,
"Yeah." It's like,
get back to your desk.
My weekend.
Yeah, my weekend. Yeah, I would love to do we could just actually tack this concept onto other products, and where someone just asks you about their weekend, and then it's like any product, it's like
Yeah,
dryer
insert
sheets,
product here.
bounce dryer sheets, and you're like just like yeah, clothes so soft. Yeah, the same music. So yeah, this is Kent walking in towards you. So for this shot, something I wanted to mention was I have a habit when I get on set and all the tools are in front of you of overthinking what I'm about to do. So my original idea for this shot was to start the camera behind him, behind over his shoulder, behind your shoulder, Ted, and then do a dolly move where we move past Kent and then go over his shoulder to see your reaction. And so do it all in one of those like Spielberg oneers. But that felt like, if you're just getting oriented with the space, that felt way too much of a show off move. Like the kind of thing where it's like would look really cool in camera.
You're kind of doing it because you can.
Yeah, exactly. And so this is like, what do we actually need? We need to establish we're in an office. So that's what we did here. Nice, simple office shot. So we got cubicles, we got Kent walking up to you, and I like that we don't see you yet. Until this shot.
I was on a side note, like when people ask me, they're like, "Oh, this ad," and I'm like, I had the least amount of work. Like it was all the crew that did it, because like I didn't really know, like I don't know much about the camera world. Like it's fun that like, oh, this angle tells this story. It's not just like, oh, we just set up and filmed this. It's like, oh, I needed to tell a story, and here's how I did that without even saying anything. That's super. That might be like filmmaking 101, but like that's super fascinating for me.
Yeah, well, it's part of like that creative problem solving part of the job that I really like, where it's like you have to like shoot down some of your best ideas because maybe that's the story's asking for something else. And I don't know if you can see it here, but there was all these dark panels. There was one in front of him that we took out. So then this interaction didn't feel like it was over top of something. And I really wanted to see all your like office supplies in the foreground for this shot, where we can see the scissors and all that kind of stuff. And this shot, what was it like, Ted, to do this shot? Because we did it like 50 times. We didn't cut every time. I just had you say my weekend a million times.
This was like, in retrospect, I wish, because I think this was one of the first shots we did, and I got super gravelly with my voice, and then like about halfway through the day, I was like, I need to stick with this gravel. This is, oh boy. So like
you've committed now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I boldly made a choice without thinking about it. This was like, I felt I've never been more conscious of my nose hair. I was like, oh boy, I hope I don't like snot on their camera. It was fun though. Like that was the other thing, is I'm used to stage acting where it's like, okay, once you're done. So the fact that it was like, change it up each time, or like, I was like, oh, maybe I should change. So the pressure was there, but you guys were also really fun at being like, yeah, just try it out. Like it was never it was like a nice waffle iron. You guys were there. I knew that I needed to do something, but you weren't shoving down on me. It was lovely.
Well, that's good. I was after about like take like 13 or something. I just wanted you to do it again because it made me laugh so much. What you can't see, we should have got an insert of what you were drawing. You were drawing like this snowmobile with like a jet engine, and it kind of looked like the notebook from Seven.
I think those are some of my favorite things, is the inspiration things that you guys were like, okay, try this, or think of this. And I was like, okay, I get to, nowhere else in my life would I be like, go crazy. Well, yeah, go crazy and draw.
Yeah. Yeah. And so for this one, we just had a couple lights on you. We got a light behind you, I think, just sort of giving you that hair light. And then there's this little tiny spotlight I bounced off the paper you're drawing on, and it's just bouncing light back into your face so you don't have a shadow face. And it makes you look a little extra creepy.
It
kind of
does.
looks like the lighting. There it is.
That little rim on the bottom of the eyes there.
Yeah, it kind of looks like the lighting from Inglourious Bastards when they're like at the restaurant table. That sort of top light bouncing off the paper. So now we're on to the stuff that Ben shot. Ben, why don't you talk to us about how did we get these shots, and what was it like scheduling this?
Scheduling was a bit of a nightmare because in the Pine Pass, during the winter, there's not a whole ton of clear days. They get more snow than Big White or Whistler up at Powder King. So trying to schedule around that was a bit of a nightmare. Leanne and I showed up because we wanted to make sure we were getting that early morning sun. We showed up at 7 in the morning. But then being in Powder King, it was actually 6 in the morning. And so we had left at like 3 in the morning, Fort St. John time to get to get there. So we slept in the truck for an hour because they weren't even up yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then so we stayed there for the day. Obviously, it's overcast here. It ended up being too overcast this day to film anything aside from hooking up the carrier. This was their maiden flight with the carrier here with the two sleds on it. So yeah, these shots were pretty fun. It was like being sandblasted by teeny crystals of snow.
Yeah.
Anywhere near the helicopter. We did a shot right below the helicopter that's towards the end there that just ripped the skin off my face.
Yeah, you were right underneath it for that one, right? As it sort of takes off.
Yeah, but even these ones here, I'm 3/4 of my body is hidden behind a vehicle because you could barely get close enough to. This was as close as I could get without like manhandling the camera down and then ruining the shot because it's too heavy or too shaky.
Yeah,
all over the place. So,
out of curiosity, how do you like? Do you get from a filmmaker? How do you protect your gear? Like, if you're getting sandblasted, I can only imagine that's happening to your camera. What do you got? That
was actually a testament to the camera. That was pretty. We didn't have much in the as far as weather sealing on it. It's got some open vents in the Blackmagic pocket in the top. I did my best to cover them up, but it went through like a trooper. We've got protective filters on the end of our lenses just to protect the native glass on them. But other than that, it's just sort of, we made it work and they survived.
Yeah. What was some of the inspiration for like how you were shooting up here? What was sort of going through your head for the images that we see?
I was trying to get a bit of the desolate. This shot here was kind of a happy accident because after he took off, from right above me, he was supposed to wait until I was set up. But by the time I got the camera over there, he was already hooking on. And the wind was so intense, I was like, well, I got to get this shot, but I got to protect myself somehow. So this one was sort of like a threw down the camera because the pilot was already hooking up to the carrier. And then essentially, because it was blasting in our faces, I set the center of the scene to where the helicopter was at to split the difference and almost just locked off the camera and held it down, essentially. So the inspiration was sheer panic.
Yes, they're going now.
It's happening. And then a lot of these shots, this is actually a reverse shot. This is when he was coming back and landing. I'd swapped to the 70 to 200, grab some of these slow motion of the unit coming down, and then Dave reversed it so that it was a continuation of that series taking off.
And it was this frame here that I used as kind of like my main frame for grading the rest of the footage that you got. So I used this as kind of like my reference frame. So for something like this shot was actually a lot clearer, and I sort of hazed it up in the, like you can see the bottom right corner. Now that I mentioned it, you'll sort of be able to see the contrast difference there. And that kind of thing, just to sort of make it feel like it was still kicking up snow and that kind of thing. So in the grade, I tried to match that. And in this part, our first rough cut of this scene, we had Fortunate Son by CCR in the soundtrack.
That was so good.
Nice. And it just works so well because we just you think about like Vietnam and helicopters, basically any helicopter scene in a movie, it seems like they use that song, or at least it's in Forrest Gump. It's in there. So it worked so well that we just tried to find. Ben, you found the perfect song that mimics that same.
It was close. It was close. Yeah.
Closest we could find, yeah. But I thought it was pretty close. I didn't expect it to be that close to the guitar riff. So we use that to sort of enhance the scene and make it like when he says "my weekend," you get transported to this whole other side of this man's life.
My Vietnam.
Yeah. This shot's interesting because this shot, we don't do a lot of these, but we cut right on the 180-degree line, which is getting a bit technical, but like that's where if you're shooting a scene, a little bit dialogue, you want the camera to always be on one side between the two actors. And right now we're right in front of Kent, and his eye line sort of follows you getting up here. And then on the other side, we pick up right on the other side of the line. So it's like normally, like if we were a little bit off on this side of it,
it would look weird.
It would look weird. It looked like you were coming from the wrong direction or something. But this was kind of a cool opportunity to jump right on the other side of the line and shoot it back the other way. And this is my favorite shot right here. Is just
This was like the first time that I really met Kent, and like I remember being we joked a lot about like we were getting close. We were getting like I think there's a few times where like we would cut, and I'd be like, I think I touched your nose with my nose.
You guys touched noses. I if I have time, I'll go back through the footage and like find the outtake where you guys like. There's a couple where you just tackle him for a second.
Action. Carl, you have no idea.
And the cutting in this part, I'll talk a little bit about the editing. I really like this sequence here that we have. Like this is my favorite sequence in it because it feels like the camera's moving all over the place, and it has like a lot of kinetic energy. But the edit's just sort of dictating that. And I really like stuff. Like I've been a fan of movies and commercials that sort of like let the edit move the story along, and where the camera is placed like geographically in the location just sort of makes sense. And it's almost like the camera like if you think about the last two shots, it's almost like the camera's like catching the ball. So as soon as his gaze changes, you come in and the camera catches the ball there, and then you turn here and the camera's catching the ball over here, and it feels like this sort of kinetic energy is sort of like infused into it. And it's just the cuts, placing the camera in the right spot helps make those cuts feel that way. But I love that kind of editing where it's just the edit it's not some crazy camera move. It's just a cut that's sort of like feeding that energy into the shot. Just took a quick break there because of Zoom meeting time limitations. Talk to us about these drone shots, Ben. You got some really cool stuff here. It looks so pristine.
For sure. So we're right in the heart of the Rockies there. We're not too far off of where Powder King is. We're over a couple of mountain ranges. And the wind was a little bit nasty up in the valley here, but we were kind of going for that, kind of nondescript, no civilization, no apparent trail or path to get into whatever area we're going into. So that's a lot of the inspiration for these shots, which just show desolation and just slow movements. A lot of people think when they're fly drones that they just jam the sticks. It's like, it's how fast we go through this area. No, a lot of the really epic shots are traveling at 10 kilometers an hour, really slow, just crawling along for particular areas.
Yeah.
And we had two skidoers up in the area there as well. And basically from the drone, I pointed at spots. I want you to crawl up here. I want you guys to go along there. And 82% of the time they listen.
Yeah. And this shot, I love this. I laughed so hard doing this part too. For this one, the note was do it like Schmeagol.
Yep.
So you look kind of feral in this shot, like you were caught like sort of like eating out of a carcass.
Those were the notes on the day, and it was. Yeah. This is so much fun because I think we did this a number of times, and I remember being like, "Okay, I'm gonna just." It was fun. The amount of, like, I was surprised at how many times we got to do it.
Yeah.
But like each time, it was just like, okay, getting a little further, a little crazier. It was great.
And then you had a whole presentation that afternoon and almost lost your voice.
Yeah. You had to host an event.
I did, yes. I did a concert, and I was like, oh boy, this is great.
Well, you did for these shots to get that real blurry look, you did a full 360 shutter, right?
Yeah, there's two shots in here where I did a 360 shutter, which is maybe one of the first times I've done that outside of necessity in like a documentary. Yeah. So what that is when, because normally you have motion blur. Just like if you wave your hand in front of your face, your hand is a little blurry. Motion blur in a video camera sort of mimics that, so things look normal when you watch a movie. And this shot, we opened up that shutter as much as we could, so every frame of video it records the whole frame. It's a little technical, but it made it look extra blurry. So when you come up, I just sort of like turn the camera like this, and it starts shaking, and it looks a little extra crazy.
I was saying part of it, I remember you describing it, I don't know, but yeah, so when we got to this part and you shook the camera to make it I loved that how it transitioned from this all the way to it felt to be on a sled. Like, it was so cool.
Yeah.
Like the day of, I was like, why is David doing it? He says he's got it, but then you see it pieced together and you're like, oh yeah, that works so cool.
It was a fun effect. I never get to use like a 360 shutter, and it's just kind of like, I'm like, oh, well, this is like the perfect time to make this feel like extra crazy. So then when you get up in his face, it feels like you're shaking the earth, you know? And this shot, this was a GoPro. Was it on someone's chest, Ben?
Yeah, I had a chesty mount there in the center
Nice.
of their GoPro. Or the center of their GoPro, center of their chest.
Yeah.
Basically a big whole harness that sits right there.
Pretty much the only way to get this type of shot. I don't know if I would attach a big old camera to a guy for this type of thing, because there's snow coming in like crazy. And I did a little bit of work here in the grade to sort of make the edges a bit blurrier and make it seem like it was a little faster or whatever. I think I sped it up to a touch. And then this shot, this is actually a really cool one, because this was the first shot we shot on the day. I think we shot it at like 7 a.m. So the sun wasn't even out yet. So the challenge was to predict what the sun was going to look like. And we kind of pulled it off. Like, now that you know that, it'll really stand out. And this is the other shot that we used the 360 shutter on, because I wanted it to look fast. Speed. Yeah. Yeah. So you're just a blip and a blur. But can you tell us how we did this, Ted?
So this was fun because we basically got, it was fun watching you guys get the supplies for this. I didn't know what you were doing. So someone got a chair, and then basically the office mats that you lay down on carpet so your chair can go roll easier. You guys built a track beneath me, and then basically, you just shoved me along that track. And it was, I mean, the mats are about maybe 2 or 3 feet wide and then a couple feet long. And it was kind of like I was the baseball between a pitcher and a catcher, because there was someone behind me who shoved me, and then there was someone who caught me. And I remember like numerous things going through my mind. 1, me being like, I hope I don't twist. 2, I hope the chair doesn't go off the mat and I just face plant. 3, I mean, a couple of takes I punched Kent in the face because like I was going a little too fast. So many like,
oh, man.
I hope this, like, it was so much fun to do. But yeah, just so many like, this could like, it was all safe and it was fun, but just a slight element of danger was like, this is good stuff.
Yeah. It's a classic filmmaking technique called hoping for the best. Just hoping that it turns out okay. Do it the least amount of times you can. And we did do this probably a lot of times, though. We did it like 10 times. But
hey, Dave, I'm going to have to jet here if you don't mind finishing off the
for sure
there. All right,
where you going? Tell the audience.
I am going to meet with a new company about a safety orientation.
Nice.
So
go get him, Ben.
All right. See you guys.
See ya. And this is a guy we work with. This is Doug. He's great. I helped him pick that tie out. He sent me like a picture of like 60 ties. So here's the one we landed on with nice tie pins, got some oil derricks on there. And I guess for lighting this one, we had one big light behind the door, and then there's one light in the hallway just to give some light on this bar here. So we had the Aperture 120D out behind the door, sort of making it look like the windows lighting up his room. Yeah. And then what happens next? This is another great scene. What I like about this scene is behind camera, there was children visiting Santa.
Yes.
I think that really made this what it is.
Just in the middle of, what do you want? Bam! And I think at one point they came over and they were like,
Mhm.
okay.
Oh, okay.
That's cool. You guys just keep doing that, I guess.
Yeah.
I would say one of my favorite parts, just from my point of view, was that lovely drink that you see there was, it wasn't alcohol at all, but it was just like this weird concoction of like Coke. And it was basically like swamp water when you're
Yeah.
13 years old, trying to be cool. And just
Yeah.
like, I just pounded back. Like, I didn't tell you afterwards, but like I had to pee so much that day afterwards.
Really?
Yeah. To stop me how
Were you-
dehydrated I think I am.
Yeah. Were you drinking the fake beer?
I was. And
Oh,
like,
God.
yeah,
Oh my god.
just in between takes.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. This scene, we actually had to flip the scene because everyone who snowmobiles noticed that you're actually doing this with your left hand, that the throttle isn't on that hand. So everyone said we had to change this. So we did. We just flipped it around. So now it's your right hand. You have a watch on your right hand. This is kind of like a hotel family restaurant. So I tried to make it a little more bar-like by throwing a blue light up there, like it's coming from like a Coors Light, neon sign, and then a red one behind you. It just sort of makes it feel like there's some neon sign advertising around or something like that. So this was kind of a fun one to light for that reason. And it actually took us a while to get that dialed in. So it felt right. It felt like special because each of these shots are so short that you need to know where you are right away. So I really wanted the lighting to sort of like inform that. You're like, oh, he's in a bar. Okay, good. Because it's like not even like 3 seconds long. And then this is wonderful stuff here. We did this pretty quick. This one, I'll talk about the lighting first so we can get past that. On the top of the stalls, I took one of these. I don't know if I can see it in the frame. It's just a panel light. I took one of those and just clamped it above each stall. So that's why you see the square of light below. And I think that's all we did for lighting here.
I think the best note of this was, Ted, your pants need to be around your ankles. And that was just like, cool, done.
And Jesse joined you in the stall beside you here for this one. And this is Ben's family here. This is his wife and daughters, and you're posing, I guess, as the husband. And this is another great part for you. I love yours. Is like the big breath is all I ended up using in this part because it lent itself to just screaming in the next shot. But yeah, and then Jesse, I don't know if you can't quite see it frame by frame here, but he put some ice cubes in this pot and then dumped boiling water in it so it would steam.
Yeah, that was so much fun to see. I was like, oh yeah, all those little details that I never would have thought of. Yeah, it's like a nice little extra hint of reality. And apparently it was Christmas time because there's a Christmas tree behind you. So yeah, how's it end here? So this shot, I was curious about this shot. This was a lot of fun to do, but did you do anything with the shot before, that frame before that of this? Yeah, because that's beautiful. This,
we just sped it up. So Ben shot this on sticks, and I just sped it up so it had kind of like a time-lapse effect. And I did a bit of a digital zoom on it, and then I put the echo of your yelling in the background, like it's like yodeling through the mountains.
It was a wonderful, it just seemed very nicely. Yeah, and it made a good transition shot. I needed something to get us from here, or from you screaming to this shot, which was too close up, so it felt like we needed something to reestablish the location. And then this shot was actually shot in Fort St. John because you weren't in Powder King doing the snowmobiling, so we went out quick and threw some snow on your helmet and shot you just like you're out of breath, sort of taking in the landscape. This to me was definitely the magic of filmmaking, because we're in a spot that I drive by, like, fairly often, and like I just could not tell. Like I remember you guys parked the truck being like, "This is it," and I was like, "This is where we're gonna make the magic happen." Okay, great. And then this happened, and I was like, "Oh, this looks so cool." The difficult part for me was making sure it felt like it was still in that spot, and then the trees we have in Fort St. John are a little bit different. And so these trees in the background, I did a little bit of like extra blurrings to make sure you don't notice that they're different. Because those are like these trembling aspen like type birch trees, and everything out in the mountains is all like
big old pine trees. I thought we were gonna have to shoot this again because it didn't feel right, but I hope people don't notice. I doubt they do. I doubt they're caring about like, hey, different tree. That's not native to the mountains.
Come on, filmmakers.
Yeah, didn't do their research. I really enjoyed lighting this part or this office stuff because I never get a chance to light something like really bright. It's usually like you want to make shadows because shadows they project drama and they look extra photographic. And for this one, look, we had like blinds in there that we could lift up and down to make sun where we wanted it or put it away. But at this point, it was later in the day and we had lost the sun coming through the windows. So I just have a big light just to your left in the frame, hitting you just sort of directly, sort of mimicking like the sunlight is. So you're getting like a sunbeam or something like that. And then there's another light to your right, a bit higher, just making sure we have a nice soft light on your face. I was kind of referencing the movie Her, with Joaquin Phoenix, where he falls in love with his phone, his like OS.
Mhm.
And that movie is very warm. It's directed by Spike Jonze, who's one of my favorite directors, and it has this really warm feeling to it. And so I was kind of like in the back of my mind, sort of trying to reference those images for this, because often in an office environment, the office is quite cool in a lot of, or green because of the fluorescent lights, or kind of sterile. And in this shot, I wanted it to contrast the mountain stuff, which was already cool. So I tried to make it like really warm and cozy feeling.
Nice.
So yeah. And then this is just, I'm just zooming in the lens here as you stare into frame. This is just like a kind of a cheap joke, but a really funny one. This is the part made me laugh every time I cut the thing together. Just the look on your face, like you're gonna murder her.
And this was fun because I didn't know like when I should stop. So I was just like, I'm just gonna hold this face until I die. Like this is until he says cut.
Yeah, and the original edit actually went on a lot longer because it was so funny to me, and it was really hard to cut away from the shot. Well, Ted, thanks so much for being on our show today, and thanks for being in this commercial, and thanks for joining us in all of our crazy adventures at Eagle Vision.
Like I'm truly honored. It was so much fun. I feel like if you get a little bit out of our working together, like I feel like I get like a huge lake of fun. So thank you so much. It's always great.
Well, that means a lot. Thanks so much, Ted. And thank you, people at home, for watching this episode of What It Took.